she's also crafted an entire genre of television out of exploiting other people. If you've seen her highest-rated shows, you'd know that although it's impossible to take away the fact that she might be one of a kind in the industry, one of the things that has helped her rule her line of work is her focus on highlighting people's pain.
I mean, money will make you do stuff as well, won't it? I mean,
yes.
One, them, us,
yes.
you know.
Yeah, well, whoever.
If there's many millions riding on a decision, it's hard to be philosophical.
Yes. Yeah, very hard. Very hard to be, you know, you have to choose what level of integrity you're coming in at.
Fans are finally applauding Monique for publicly criticizing Oprah now that she's spoken out about feeling lowballed on her project.
Oprah Winfrey is one of the most prominent faces of Hollywood, a successful and respectable businesswoman and a role model for every woman around the world, or so you thought. The controversies surrounding Oprah are abundant, and despite her best efforts in keeping everything under wraps, her true nature is coming to light. The world is in shambles, but Hollywood has taken it to a whole another level. From famous rapper Diddy being involved in sex trafficking to Kendrick calling Drake a pedophile. But the last person you'd expect to appear in the middle of these controversies is Oprah.
Oprah Winfrey has built a reputation as a philanthropist and humanitarian. But Dave Chappelle always thought that there's another side to Oprah, and he's been trying to expose her for years.
I don't want black people to be disappointed in me for putting that out there.
No, you didn't want to be disappointed in yourself.
You know what, Oprah? You're right.
See, Oprah's been involved in numerous controversies throughout her career. From claims that she blackballs and destroys the careers of everyone who criticizes her, to much more disturbing allegations of alleged involvement in human trafficking.
It all started with Mel Gibson's new movie. Sound of Freedom is shaking things up big time. Mel didn't hold back at all, exposing some serious dirt on the elites and their dirty dealings. Public humiliation is their biggest fear, and Mel's ready to blow the lid off everything.
I was not emotionally prepared for the new film, Sound of Freedom. You've heard it referred to as a right-wing film, as a Christian film, as a conspiracy movie, as a QAnon film. You know, they use all the buzzwords to make this film as radioactive as possible.
Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites. Now, it's not true.
The movie highlights the very real, not conspiracy theory of human trafficking. Need I remind you of another thing that was considered a conspiracy theory up until 5 seconds ago, which was the fact that a little guy named Jeffrey Epstein had a little island where the most powerful people, the tippity top of government officials, celebrity, Hollywood, would go?
Gibson always had some weird, paranoid theories about Hollywood, but now he's laying it all out. So what's Mel saying? Let's dive in. Hollywood's always been full of scandals, but this one came as a shock through a movie. Sound of Freedom, directed and co-written by Alejandro Monteverde and starring Jim Caviezel, Mira Sorvino and Bill Camp, is making waves. The film tackles the serious issue of child trafficking, showing how kids are still in danger, dragged around by shady adults. You'd think a movie with such an important message would get global support, but nope, it's being buried, and the lack of media coverage is both sickening and suspicious.
I was really inspired when I saw that Sound of Freedom, another faith-based film, topped the box office. But then I started reading these articles from publications like the Rolling Stone and even the New York Times that seemed they were trying to discredit this film. And I just thought to myself, isn't saving innocent children something we can all agree on? And I've never been one for conspiracy theories, but I do find it strange that they're trying to, discredit this film when this organization that the film is about is clearly making an impact and helping these kids. Isn't saving children something we should be supporting? And definitely not writing it off as if it's some kind of fantasy.
Why? Because the elites don't want the public to know about their dirty secrets. This movie exposes the dark side of the industry, and influential people are working hard to keep it from reaching a wider audience. The film is based on the true story of Tim Ballard, a former special agent who's dedicated his life to fighting child trafficking. He even started Operation Underground Railroad with support from Glenn Beck. Despite its powerful message, major streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon snubbed it.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I had a lot of experience from the Passion of the Christ, and we were humiliated. We were taken through the ringer in the media This was before Trump came out and said it was, the lion media and the fake news. And they were fake news back when we were doing that, but we had to fight for everything we had. And so we got that film done. So I had a little bit experience of what this can be like. But when God tells you what to do, you don't hesitate. So what led to that scene when Bill Camp asked me, when God tells you what to do, you don't hesitate. And all I could think about was my children. And of course, my eyes started to water because I just remember the miracle that happened, that God loved me. That much, and I would die for that love.
It's strange since these platforms usually support such causes. Even celebrities known for speaking out on social issues are staying silent, making Hollywood's collective indifference even more troubling. But there's more. Sound of Freedom was originally a Disney project, but they suddenly dropped it, leaving people confused. Rumors suggest there's much more behind this rejection and the lack of promotion, despite its star-studded cast. Some believe these platforms and the elites are deliberately ignoring the movie to protect their interests. Mel Gibson hinted about these shady elites back in 1998. He wanted out because he was scared and disgusted by what he saw.
Sideways. Through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he was a dancer, so he has he's very, graceful.
Yeah.
And he moved sideways, and he just sat down in a chair next to me. And it kind of frightened me. And he's a very smart guy. And we started talking, and I didn't, say much of anything about reading the script, nothing. I just started talking about the Middle Ages, and he began to talk tortures.
Oprah's been linked to Harvey Weinstein, known for his predatory behavior, yet she remained close friends with him, encouraging others to work with him.
In Hollywood, disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is sentenced to 23 years in prison for rape and sexual assault in a landmark case. A New York judge gives Weinstein a heavy sentence, close to the maximum 29 years allowed. Allegations against the once powerful 67-year-old ignited the #MeToo movement, making him a pariah and ending his career. Weinstein once had a personal fortune estimated at $150 million. The Weinstein Company declared bankruptcy in March 2018 under an avalanche of lawsuits. Nearly 90 women, including Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, Jessica Mann, and Mimi Halei, came forward to talk about Weinstein's 40 years of vile, predatory behavior.
This double standard is a huge red flag. Oprah also featured John of God, a faith healer later sentenced to 23 years for multiple charges of abuse. She gave him a platform, inadvertently giving him access to victims. Despite trying to salvage her reputation, Oprah's involvement with such figures raises serious questions. Her Leadership Academy in South Africa has also faced numerous controversies, from exorbitant fees to allegations of misconduct by staff. A former dorm supervisor, Virginia, allegedly abused students, further tarnishing Oprah's image.
One shocking incident involved an employee named Virginia, whose role involved overseeing the dormitories. It was discovered that she had engaged in highly inappropriate conduct with not one, but multiple students between the ages of 13 and 15. These vulnerable young girls, handpicked by Oprah herself, fell victim to the very person entrusted with their care. It was a stain on Oprah's reputation and a disturbing reflection of the Academy's inner workings. Desperate to salvage her image and protect the brand she had built, Oprah swooped in with a team of investigators to uncover the truth, but the darkness didn't dissipate with Virginia's scandal. Less than 2 years later, another controversy erupted within the walls of Oprah's Academy. Disturbing revelations emerged, shedding light on a culture of violence and intimidation among the students.
People are frustrated, believing the elites are trying to keep the truth hidden by burying movies like Sound of Freedom. They see through the facade and are demanding justice against these powerful figures. In short, Mel Gibson's movie is exposing a lot of dark secrets, and the elites are scrambling to keep it all under wraps. The public is waking up to the truth, and the industry's efforts to silence it are only making people more suspicious. But these are far from the only controversies she has been involved in. In fact, it looks like her career has been one scandal after another. It's surprising that this woman managed to be so successful. One of the most prominent backlash she faced was when she teamed up with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to launch a relief fund for Maui wildfire victims.
Last week, Oprah and The Rock announced that they would be starting a relief fund for the victims of the Maui wildfires. The People's Fund of Maui was given a solid it $10 million to get off the ground. $10 million donated by Oprah and Dwayne combined.
Sounds great, right? But then they had the audacity to ask regular folks for donations. With Oprah's net worth sitting at a jaw-dropping $2.8 billion, people were furious.
So why is it just Oprah that's getting so much hate online? Well, it's because she has a net worth of roughly $2.8 billion. Billion with a B. The world is collectively furious at Oprah for having the audacity to ask working class citizens for charity when most people can barely afford to put food on their tables. The Rock and Oprah donated $5 million each to give the fund a head start. Well, guess what? $5 million to Oprah Winfrey is like $500 to us. Like, it's still a lot, but it's chump change to her.
Oprah responded to the criticism by expressing her disappointment, and honestly, that just made things worse. Oprah's show has featured some eyebrow-raising guests, but one of the most notorious was Suzanne Summers. Suzanne shared her anti-aging secrets, which included rubbing estrogen creams on her skin and taking a whopping 60 supplements a day. Medical experts were quick to slam this, pointing out the potential health risks. Oprah backed Suzanne's methods, even claiming she used them herself.
Was this woman claiming to be a health expert and a so-called self-help author? But surprise, surprise, a doctor she is not. Medical experts started bashing Oprah, claiming that this type of extreme hormone therapy would actually be the cause of several diseases and illnesses. You know, like cancer. Despite Suzanne's claim that her specially made, non-FDA approved bioidenticals are natural and safe, they're actually just synthetic conventional hormones that you can buy from a pharmacy. Oprah did everything in her power to sell this idea to her audience, believing 100% that these methods were useful, and even claimed that she used the methods herself to make herself feel incredible. So this lady would rather risk her audience getting cancer than just telling them the truth. Solid.
And it doesn't end there. Remember the iconic "you get a car" moment? Turns out those cars weren't entirely free. Oprah's team covered some costs, but the hefty tax bill left many feeling less than grateful.
Members received keys in a box on camera that Oprah claimed to be for their new cars. Everything has a catch even now though. For someone who is known for being super charitable and generous, the word free clearly means something else to Oprah.
Oprah and her longtime partner, Stedman Graham, have never tied the knot. Oprah claims that marriage would jeopardize her independence and everything she's built. Interestingly, she still wanted Stedman to propose. Their unconventional relationship has survived rumors and speculation, but insiders say there's not much of a romantic connection there.
Oprah said she wanted to be proposed to but not married. For years, hundreds of weekly tabloid pieces speculated on our marriage. After accepting his 1993 proposal, I had reservations. I realized I didn't desire marriage. I wanted to be asked, she said. I wanted to know he thought I was worthy of being his missus, but I didn't want the sacrifices, compromises, and daily commitment required to make a marriage work. We knew my show life was my priority. Winfrey added, he and I agree that had we tied the marital knot, we would not still be together. Oprah's private life is impossible. Fans and journalists monitor their every move. Oprah's 1992 engagement to Stedman sparked media frenzy. The couple canceled the wedding. Winfrey and Graham remain a couple despite the annulment. Winfrey told Shonda Rhimes on Super Soul Sunday about her canceled wedding to Graham, ET Canada reported. I was supposed to do a book at the same time, she remarked. And the wedding and book coincided. On our way from the book party, Stedman stated he didn't want people asking me about the book at his wedding, which I didn't do.
On the other hand, in Kitty Kelly's tell-all book, it's revealed that Oprah had everyone from staff to guests sign ironclad non-disclosure agreements. This wasn't just to keep show secrets, but to protect Oprah's personal secrets too.
In Kitty Kelly's tell-all book about Oprah, the author mentions the confidentiality agreements that co-workers and guest stars were always made to sign. This included everyone from Tom Cruise to the person who made Tom Cruise's muffin. Over 500 staff members were forced to sign the document. One former employee, Elizabeth Cody, tried to write a book about her time working for Oprah, but she was apparently stopped by the courts, still being tied to the agreement that she had signed. The NDAs were not meant to be a way to keep just show secrets safe, but any and all of Oprah's secrets as well. According to Elizabeth, the document was signed by almost everyone in Oprah's life. She may have this brand of sweetness and kindness, but apparently that's not how she actually is. Elizabeth felt that she was in Oprah's pocket after she signed the paperwork. In 2010, a lawsuit was even filed filed against Oprah and her company because Unicus Performance Training claimed that they were fired for violating the terms of this agreement, specifically involving advertising with her name or the website of the show. That makes no sense.
Oprah is known for her sweet on-screen persona, but her stepmother Barbara paints a different picture. Barbara describes Oprah as controlling and quick to anger, with many staff members getting fired over minor issues. She also claims Oprah made her and her husband stay in hotels during visits instead of at her house.
But according to her stepmother, there is an unknown side to this woman, hidden from fans for years. According to Barbara, Oprah is one of the most controlling people that you will ever meet in your life. She claims that Oprah would not allow them to stay at her house when herself and her husband would try to visit, forcing them to stay in hotels with money out of their own pockets. Barbara also said that Oprah was quick to anger when it came to her staff, with several people being fired left and right over the years for the littlest things. But that's not all. Despite being a billionaire, Barbara allows her to stay at her house when she visits, something that Oprah apparently hates. The first time she actually stayed at her stepmother's place, Oprah allegedly complained that her bed sheets were not 1,000 threads and that her bath towels were not big enough. Okay, that one I can forgive. Ever use a giant towel? I'm never going back. This woman has billions of dollars to do literally anything she wants, and apparently what she wants is to make her family feel like a burden.
Oprah is a big advocate for animal rights, even forcing her staff to join her on a 21-day vegan cleanse. While it was technically optional, employees feared they'd be fired if they didn't participate. Oprah's demanding nature behind the scenes made this cleanse feel more like a mandatory ordeal. Oprah's own book reveals she wasn't an easy kid. Oprah admits to doing some pretty wild things.
In her own book that she wrote, she revealed that growing up she was far from an easy kid to handle. When she was young, she was sent to live with her father Vernon after Oprah was caught stealing from her mother's purse. Despite being an on-screen persona known for charity and kindness, she was actually a menace throughout most of her life, according to family members. As I mentioned previously on this list, Oprah's stepmother is not allowed to stay at her house, and she's known to be pretty controlling. She admitted to doing some pretty troubling things at a young age, including staging an amnesia bout, breaking several things in her mother's home, and calling the police. According to Oprah's mother, she was uncontrollable, ungrateful, and after robbing her, maybe a little crazy.
Oprah is also responsible for launching the careers of Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz. Dr. Phil, originally brought on to help Oprah with a trial, found his niche in TV thanks to her.
For Phil, he brings people on his show who are struggling with personal issues that just so happen to be good for television. Remember that Catch Me Outside girl? Dr. Phil made her rich and famous. But it's not just Phil that's had some controversial moments though. Her other protege, Mr. Dr. Oz, has had some pretty rough moments. His show is centered around medicine and health, bringing so-called experts on every week.
Despite the controversial nature of their shows, Oprah has profited significantly from their success. So what do you think? Is it time to investigate Winfrey, or do we still need more evidence?